Five, four, three, two, one. We're live. Welcome back after a seemingly long hiatus. Couple updates. I wrapped up the Iron Jimmy project that you saw so many live streams on, and I also made some improvements to my own website, bradgarropy.com. I always like to start off with these recaps. So here's the new BG website. I actually added like a homepage and navigation. So it's not just a blog, it actually has some other stuff on there. So here is the blog. It still exists. I've got a uses page now, which is pretty cool. It shows my home office, everything I have in my computer, as well as the live stream setup, the mic, the audio interface, all that stuff. I also talk about my work setup, which I'm pretty happy with, super minimal. It's got a hire me page, which is pretty simple because I'm not really looking for full-time opportunities, but I am looking for new freelance web client work. So if you have anything for me, let me know. And I've just got a basic contact me page if you want to get in touch with me in any way, shape, or form. I will call out my AMA, which is on GitHub, and my Twitter and email. Those are the three main ways you can contact me. So wrapped up Iron Jimmy, wrapped up bradgarropy.com's update, and now I'm starting a brand new app. This is going to be something kind of ambitious. I wanted this to be something with a back end, and my idea was kind of like a Secret Santa or a gift exchange app where anybody can log in and create groups and join groups, and people can make wish lists and then get matched up anonymously and then meet to do the gift exchange. And this is all really spurred on by my wife's family. They're pretty big now, and we were just looking for kind of a way to like streamline the gift giving process through the holiday season. And so I decided to make an app for this. So the purpose of this video is to talk about kind of my difficulty integrating Firebase with Next.js. So for this application, I wanted to use Next.js and now Zeit's server-side rendered React framework and Zeit's hosting platform. And actually had a lot of difficulty doing so. And I put out a tweet and got a lot of good responses. Let me see. I'll find it. Yeah, so right here. I started here and I just kind of talked about I want to use Next and Now, but I'm very familiar with Gatsby and Netlify. And Next and Now seem to be having issues. And there was like a very specific GitHub issue that talked about all these problems, and here you go, right here, like failing to deploy with Firebase as a dependency and all this stuff. And so I just put out this tweet and I got like a lot of responses from community members. And specifically, I got responses from Jason Langsdorff, who is kind of like the DevRel manager at Gatsby. And, he works on the Gatsby side, and that's working fantastically for me. I'm able to, here, actually, let me show you. Let's see, I think it's called giftdex.netlify.com. Yeah, so this is all Gatsby. Refresh the page because I've made updates since then. So this is all Gatsby, but this is fetching data from Firebase. You can also register and log in. So boink, I can log in and look at it. My application knows the state and knows that a user's logged in. I can log out and register as well. So Firebase has been integrated with Gatsby, no problem. But Next I was having issues with, and this guy, Joe Haddad, an employee at Zeit, reached out to me specifically, and we got to talking about my problem, and it seems like it just boils down to an issue with environment variables, something that I just didn't quite understand when I started using the Next.js framework. Because as you can see, my build is actually failing. And I'll show you the results, the logs here. So it's yelling at me, it just says package.json does not exist at package.json. So we're going to kind of implement the things that he talked about and see if we can get this to work. So a lot of what he's saying was it really comes down to my environment variable setup. And he says, I was unable to reproduce the issue and it worked in production for me. And he talked about you'll need to define my environment variables as secrets in now so that the now build can pick them up. So I'm going to go through and do all this and expect a lot of me to be like tabbing back and forth between the be right back screen like this and my streaming screen, because a lot of this information is secret and I don't want to expose any of it. So if I do, I will reset everything, but I hope everybody watching, which is very few of you, won't try anything malicious. So with all that being said, let's get going. One thing I want to do is log into my Firebase console. And here's my Next.js Firebase repository. If you want to follow along, it's right here, and I'll link that in the chat. And while I'm also at it, I'll link my uses page if you want to know anything about the gear that I'm using. And, I showed that off earlier, so check it out. Okay, so I've been sitting here talking for quite a while, 7 minutes, and it's time to actually get into it. Okay, so Firebase. I need to go in here and I actually need to grab my credentials because I want to simplify environment variables. Let's see. Here. So you can see that now has this thing called now secret. And what this does is this is now the command line tool. And when you run now secret, it's kind of like the same thing as setting environment variables on Now's build server for you, but that are like obfuscated from any users or anything like that. So right now I have a lot of environment variables, like 7 or 8 to set up Firebase. And I want to simplify it because a lot of them are just based off of the project ID. So I'm going to open up Firebase. I'm going to switch off right now so that you don't see any secret data. And here we go. Yeah, so I want to go to documentation and show initializing Firebase. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So as you can see, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things that you need. That's a lot. And what I want to do is simplify this to where I essentially only provide like API key, project ID, and sender ID. So 3 environment variables instead of 7. And I'll show you how we're going to do this. So pop open VS Code here. And we'll go into Firebase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. So we need 3 environment variables: API key, project ID. No, 4. API key, project ID, sender ID, and app ID. That's a lot. It's better than 7. Looks like I deleted my .env file here, so I'm going to re-add it. I'm not going to put any of the sensitive information here yet. So what I'm going to do is tracking ID. This is for Google Analytics. I'll fill it in later. So I said we had 4 environment variables: the API key, the project ID, the sender ID, and the app ID. Cool. So let's get this going first. So Firebase is going to be API key is going to be process.env.firebase API key. And I'm just trying to mimic this structure here where I'm replacing API key, project ID, sender ID, and app ID. What's this one going to be? Okay. So the next one, I'm going to use the template literal to substitute in process.env.firebase project ID .firebaseapp.com. So see here, I don't have to define an auth domain specifically. I could just insert the project ID portion. And so you'll see how that's going to pay off here. So in the database URL, I'm going to put the Firebase project ID .firebaseio.com. And I need the protocol here, HTTPS. So instead of defining 2 separate variables, environment variables, I only had to define one, Firebase project ID, and insert it into these. Project ID is just project ID. Storage bucket is the project ID .appspot.com. And again, I'm just looking here and copying this stuff. All right, the next 2 are different: sender ID and app ID. So I actually need to look env, sender ID and app ID. That's just what I called them. Firebase sender ID and Firebase app ID. And that should do it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables down from, I think it was like 7 or 8. We can delete that temporary config. I was just using it for reference. And I also want to bring up my Gatsby site just to see what I did there. Let me file. Let's do this. I have an actual working GIFTX repo right now with Gatsby. So I want to file, add folder to workspace, GIFTX. Sweet. So with giftx, I just want to double check my Firebase config source utils firebase.js. And I did this. Oh, yeah. App auth firestore. This window thing was just for Gatsby build time, so we're not going to worry about it. And I just found a keyboard shortcut today. I can't remember what it was to add cursors to new lines underneath, but oh well. All right, cool. So now we've got the Firebase utility file that we can import Firebase as a whole, just the app, auth, or Firestore from, using only the fewest environment variables possible: project ID, API key, sender ID, and app ID. So give me 1 second. I will put on the be right back screen, and I'm going to copy over my actual information, so you can't see that stuff. All right, sweet. So I'm putting in my API key, my project ID, my sender ID, and my app ID. As well as I'll go to Google Analytics and grab my tracking ID and stick that on there. Let's see. I always forget how to navigate this stupid thing. There we go. There's my tracking ID. Okay, so I'll take off the be right back screen. So this should be working. Let's go into the Next.js Firebase. We'll do rm.rf, the next folder, the build folder, and npm start. I cannot start server when target is not a server. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think it's run dev. Let's check out package.json. Yeah, run dev. So it says I have something up at 3,000. Let's check it out. I don't know. It seems to be taking its sweet ass time. Ooh, okay. So I am connected and I am getting the users. So that seems to be working. So let's do an npm run. I think it's build. Let's check the scripts. Yeah, build. npm run build. Is this going to shit on me? I mean, probably, because I still haven't put in my secrets. Secret. Okay. It's still yelling at me. So let's go ahead and do Tim's suggestion Tim. Called him Tim. His tag is timer150, timmer150. His name is Joe. Let's do Joe's suggestion. And he says, leave the .env config in your next config.js. So I do have a next config. I do have a .env here. So locally, this should read just fine. Okay, cool, which it does. My new now.json will look something like this. Yeah. Let's look at the now.json. Docs, we need like configuration. There we go. So I'm trying to figure out the build env section. Env, look at that. Oh. env, environment variables passed to the lambdas. Build env, environment variables passed to the build process. Following examples will pass my key to all builds and secret resolve from the secret dynamically. Right. So you'll notice I did something funny in my next config. In my next config, I decided to put this thing called env Firebase. So let's look at the next docs. Try to figure out what the hell's going on. Configuration, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, it's a regular node module, so you can put whatever you want in there. But what about this one? Yeah, this is JSON. So I hope so, because like I wanted to bundle the Firebase variables all together. So fuck it, let's see. We will try. Build.env. Here we go. Open up my env file and put all this stuff here. So I got my Firebase API key, my Firebase project ID, sender ID, and app ID. And I can come back. So these are all going to be equal to a secret that I put on now. So it's going to be like at some secret, right? And I'll have to define that. Well, those should be in quotes. Same thing with the secrets. All right, cool. And so this is what we need to define on the command line, the now command line. So do I have now installed? Update available. npm update. Yeah, npm update -g. So we will do that while I wait. While I wait, let's figure out how to define secrets. So let's go to Zeit Now website, look at the documentation, and see what's up. Okay, we'll go to, no, not configuration, environment variables. Okay, this is weird. So there's an env and a build env. We gotta find secrets. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes you need to store sensitive information that should only be accessible by the code that it's running in. Sweet. Okay. Now help secret. Secrets. So now help secrets says what? You can list now secrets ls. I have no secrets. So let's add some secrets. Once again, I'm going to go off and then add some of these secrets. So I know you can't see me typing, but I'll just kind of read off exactly what I'm typing. So to add a new secret, now secrets add my secret, my value. So my secret is going to be called tracking ID, and its value is going to be called, well, the value. And so let's see, we'll do now secrets ls. And yes, I have a tracking ID. Cool. I'll do the same with the rest of them. We're doing the API key now. And now we're doing the project ID. Now secrets add Firebase project ID. And Firebase sender ID. Now secrets add Firebase sender ID. And finally, now secrets add Firebase app ID. And again, this is just putting these secrets and storing them on Now's server. Securely. All right, so I can come off here. I just added these secrets. Tracking ID, Firebase API key, project ID, sender ID, app ID. This is exactly the same as what is in my .env file. So I can do this. Supposedly, I can do a tracking ID here. I can do a Firebase API key. I can do a project ID, sender ID, app ID. Which is perfect. So these are now stored securely on Zeit's Now server, and I can access these at build time. Which I'm still a little confused, right? So you've got Next config, which sets up env Firebase API key. Which I don't think I need. Let me check. Joe's Twitter response. Okay. Add a build.env key to your now.json. Right. Leave .env in your next config.js. Correct. Now should look like this. Right. So what I'm hearing from that message is I can actually, in my next config.js, get rid of this env thing completely. Why? Oh, no. I might have lied. Let's just run it and see. Can we run the dev server? Okay. Just hard refresh the page. Let's open it in a new incognito window. I just don't, yeah, okay, so it seems to be working. Console log. I have no idea what that means. Okay. Okay, what happens if I leave it? I don't think it's gonna make a difference. Right, again, new incognito window. Localhost 3000. Doinkaroonies, there it is. Okay, yeah, we still have that. Side note, I want to get the new extension. But I don't know how. Details. I don't know how to just update all my extensions right now. Do it. Whatever. Okay. So it looks like it's working in dev. Let's try to push this. And on Zeit Now. Well, okay, before we do that, let's do an npm run build. So we can rf the next directory. And we can do an npm, I believe it's run build. Let's check the package.json. Yes. I have a feeling we're still going to get this error about package.json that's referenced in the GitHub issue. Yeah, okay. So then let's implement the workaround that the GitHub issue states. I linked it here in this conversation with Joe. Okay, there it is. Oh, might be. Linked it on my Twitter post about all this stuff. Okay, here we go. So this issue has a workaround for the package.json situation. And it's from this Tim Neutkins guy who works on Next, and he has spoken with me. Oh, no, there we go. Look at this. Joe's right here stating what to do. So install the asset reloader. I am using Next.js and use the following plugin with Next config.js. So we will open our Next config.js. Oh, I still think we can get rid of this whole situation. With asset relocator. And then we can just do it like this with asset relocator config. Be sure in the latest version of now. Yes. Great. And now later on, this guy talks about a 502 error, which was what I was getting. And that's That's what Joe was telling me was my environment variables causing a problem. 502, yeah. I followed everything above and it works great, and then I get a 502. Well, yeah, some people were blaming Firebase, but Joe says it's an environment variable issue, which probably makes sense. So let's try one more time. Remove the .next, clear out the previous build, and run a build. Fingers crossed. What's up, guys? I see some people are actually watching. I appreciate you joining. Say what's up in the chat. I'm happy to talk while I'm doing this. Ooh. What the hell is this? This is new. Illegal operation on directory. I have no idea. Literally no idea. You know what that means? It's Google time. So this is Next.js. I'll just Google this build issue. William, hey, what's up, man? You having any of the same issues? You solved this problem? Basically just trying to integrate Firebase with Next.js. Yeah, so now dev works just fine. That's local. But as soon as I attempt to actually build this for production, it fails. So check it out. You can do npm run dev here. Got a development server. It's up and running. Localhost 3000, and here we go. I have these entries are actually being loaded from my Firestore. So this is working on dev. But as soon as I try to do the production build, now run build, that's where I get the errors. It's funny. Somebody actually responded to one of my tweets saying like, yeah, all the tutorials, you know, act like it's honky-dory to run all this stuff in a local dev environment, and then it gets to production, they just kind of like stop. And you don't need to build it for production if you are going to deploy it for now. Yeah, no, totally agree. But now, if you'll notice, actually uses the exact same command. So npm run build runs next build, and now runs now build, which is the next build command. But I'm with you. Like, let's try it out. You're saying if I push this, is set to serverless. Yeah. So you're saying if I push this, I'll have a different build experience? Let's give it a shot. Nothing to lose. So what did I do here? Updated the config with the asset relocator. Updated my now.json to use my secrets. Installed the asset relocator. Updated my Firebase. You might worth a try. Sweet. Updated my Firebase JS file to accept the simplified environment variables. So what the hell? We'll give William Lee's suggestion a try. So let's see, this is going into dev, and we will check it out on my dashboard. Okay, cool. Here we go, it's building. Let's see what we get. See, look, it runs the next build command right here. Oh, okay, technically it runs npm run now build, but it's the exact same. Oh, this looks good. It's the exact same command. Let's see, compiled with warnings. Okay. The Lambda exceeds the configured limit, right? So I did notice that was another thing that was suggested. So he talks about the config option for the build, setting the max Lambda size. So we can adjust that. This is blowing my mind. Like what maybe you have some insight here, William. What's the difference between serverless builds and, like building it here locally? I don't think I've wrapped my head around that yet. I've got a max Lambda size of 15 now. All right, here we go. So I just push that change, increasing the max Lambda size. We'll give this one a shot. Okay, so it's using the serverless build mode. It's running the next build command, which is crazy because that fails locally. npm run now build. Look, it's like literally exactly the same command that they run here. So locally, I think it fails, yet somehow like on now it's going to work. Very confused. Yes, okay, so this is going to fail locally. npm run now build. Oh my God, it's working. So here on now, npm run now build. It is working. William says, when you use now dev or deploy to now, it uses a builder, correct? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm using the next builder because I'm using Next.js. Create a simple next config to use as our entry point for the build and to configure that the build should be a collection of serverless lambdas. And so from what I understand, when you put the serverless flag on there, all that does is it makes each page of your website, instead of hitting like one web server that does the server-side rendering, like typically you would set up like an Apache server, which would just serve your files or like run your backend code, whether that be PHP or Node.js, that renders your HTML. What I understand this to be is that it's actually creating AWS Lambda functions that generate your HTML when your client comes in and requests a page. Dude, it worked. No, 502. See, there you go. The target serverless will not be required. Oh, in the upcoming Next.js updates. Okay. So here's the 502 error that I was getting previously. And 502, what does that even mean? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, at this point I'm missing routes. I'm not familiar with routes. Is that a Next.js thing or is that a Now thing? Cloud deployment routes. Now uses routes to define the behavior of how a request is handled on a routing side. For example, you might use a route to rewrite a URL. I should be okay, right? I only have one route. It's the index route. But I'm not looking to rewrite it or change the extension or redirect it. I just want index to render. Yeah, dest is used to rewrite the source path to another URL or a lambda, right? So I wouldn't think that's necessary. But I'm not sure if it's necessary. I'm stumped, man. Build env. Yes. Whoops. Which I set to my secrets. Which we can see here now. Secrets ls. Tracking ID, API key, project ID, sender ID, app ID. Let's, just to be sure, let's do a log of the project ID. Right? Like, we want to see if it's actually there. Yeah, leave the .env in your nextconfig.js. Yeah, they're injected at build time, correct. But adding that build.env will ensure they're defined during the build. Your nextconfig.js gets executed, which will still load them from .env. Right, so my next config.js is actually reading the process. Now.json, okay. So 56 seconds ago, this worked. I get a 502. No status from Lambda. I don't understand. Yeah, let's check out Now Dev, like William's talking about. Never used that, so now. Oh shit, I think I just built it. We'll run help to see the commands, and so does dev take any... Okay, let's uninstall it and reinstall. Get it up to the latest version. Yeah, I'm more familiar with Netlify, so I take it Now Dev is very similar to Netlify's CLI dev command. Yeah, right. Now dev is in beta. Right. I need to define the .env.build file, right? So let me be right back. Define those environment variables. Just basically add a new file with the same thing called .env.build. Should be good. Okay, so streaming again. All I did was create a .env.build file with the exact same stuff in it as .env. And we'll run now dev. Okay, so it's installing the builder that it uses on Zeit Now. Cool. Right. Or GRPC. Speak of the devil. Look at what I saw regarding GRPC here. On this same issue, somebody says, hey, look, you should exclude GRPC via Webpack. I guess I'll try it. I don't really know what order to put these in, and I don't know if it matters. I'm not sure how this is supposed to be run. Is that a function? I think it's a function. Yeah, I think this actually works fine without Firebase. So like you're saying, basically go to index, just don't even import Firebase, don't do any of this stuff. I'll just return nothing and then run now dev. Yeah, like this is doing nothing with Firebase at all. I'm not importing it. I'm not calling anything regarding Firestore here. Just completely wiping it out, taking it out of the picture. Yeah, I'm still getting issues. No, not at all. I'm getting build failures. Still on that same GRPC situation. Well, I appreciate the help, William. I think I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to summarize what happened here on the video and in a message over to Joe and maybe see what he has to say. I think the 502 error was the closest I had been, so I'm going to put it back in that state. So how did I get there? I had to use the with asset reloader. Great. What's the spectrum like? I've never actually been to the Zeit's or Next spectrum. I'm going to put my be right back on for a second so I can wipe out some of these env.build files. Cool, everything else looks good. And I'll go back to my deploy. What am I getting here? What am I getting? What was this commit? Oh, log the Firebase project ID. Yeah, which isn't even happening. Which is weird, right? Like, I would expect like even an undefined to show up or something. Yeah, nothing. Put a public group below in the Zeit team. Yeah, great. Yeah, I've been talking privately to that Joe Haddad. I can't remember his name. Joe Haddad, and he's been a lot of help. Same with you. Do you work for Zeit or anything? Or are you just a very helpful open source member? Twitter 502. Okay, perfect. So I'll leave it in this state, and we will go from there. What I don't have anymore is env variables in my next config.js. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I will do that. I'll hop in Spectrum right now. Doink. William, really appreciate the help. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to wrap this video up. It didn't go as well as I thought I was going to, but got some great community engagement, made a little bit of progress, and if nothing else, I have a working implementation with Gatsby. So everybody else, thank you for watching. Hopefully this sheds some light on any problems that you may be having, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.